Like the other revival of last year, the Skinheads, these mods haven't got too much in common with their predecessors, but they think that mod is the way to look and mod bands are the right music to follow. It's not just fans of The Who, but hundreds of kids in and around London swapping their punk gear for Parkers, Fred Perry shirts and ancient scooters. But where the mod revival is really taking place is down in the clubs. This band is the Chords, one of a dozen or so who are recreating the mod sound and the clean-cut way of dressing. Bands with names like the Purple Hearts, the Scooters and the Mods. But why choose the mod era to emulate? Isn't another revival just a sign that kids are hard up for ideas of their own right now? Today we're going to look at mods both old and new and find out what there was about the original craze that makes it so attractive to young people 15 years later.
So hi everyone, here we are with Billy Hassett. So Billy, well it's William Hassett to his mum and dad, but Billy Hassett to everybody else. Lead singer and guitarist in the brilliant band The Chords. Anyone who knows me, I'm a massive Chords fan. Billy has for the last 30 years lived in Japan with his family, and some of us, or may, and some of you know, he's done the odd Chords gig since. It's 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday because in Japan it's not. And Billy's live from Japan for us now. So Billy, when did you first start playing? What did you do? And hello, and how did...
Good evening.
Good evening, yes. So Billy, when did you first start playing? Were your first guitars and stuff?
Oh, right. Music-wise?
Yes.
I used to play my mum's record player with the needle. Heard her. Val Dunican and Bachelor Brothers and...
Yeah.
So
But
that's
guitar stuff?
Right. The guitar came quite late, really, I suppose, when I was about 13. I was playing violin and then, would you believe it, bassoon. And my mum one Christmas got me a guitar.
But where was the... You've told me in the past that you played in the school band and you went on to do more band stuff. But are you from a musical family? Is all of the family musical?
Well, my mum and dad... Well, mum, no, but my dad can sing. He's a grand singer, as they say.
Oh, right.
But, all the aunts and uncles are grand singers.
Oh, okay. And is that a party piece at Christmas?
No, good, no. I'm embarrassed because they can sing.
Now it's gone. Billy, can you play something we know? Now
Billy,
it's
go on,
gone.
Just. No, apparently my one is Ticket to Ride, which is kind of apt since I live in Japan.
Yeah. I suppose that makes a certain amount of sense.
He's got a ticket to... Yeah, I've got one,
Yeah. But was it always in the blood? Are you from a family that plays records a lot? Is that in your...
Well, I'm kind of like a large family, Irish immigrants there in the mid-50s. And my mum is a younger member, the youngest actually in her family. And my dad is kind of like a bit midway. So they had brothers and sisters that were already over in the UK. And they came along then. Actually, my mum and dad met in London.
Oh, okay.
but they knew each other from the same town,
Right. Okay.
Ireland, a place called Nina. So with the large family, you had the bigger cousins.
Yep.
So they would be babysitting us, and it would be, you can imagine in the 60s, what it was like, ready, steady, go, then later Top of the Pops. We would be sat down, because mum and dad would be down the pub, and the cousins, and then we'd be all, music was everywhere.
So you lived in London, but did you all sort of kind of live near each other, so you could walk to each other's house?
I was born in Whitechapel, and we all lived in that area. Funny enough, not Camden.
Okay.
And later then, the place where we were living was bulldozed down, and we moved to South East London.
Oh, right.
I must have been 8 or 9 when we left.
Oh, okay. So that's how you ended up at school with... Was you at school with Martin?
Yeah, yeah. I went to 2 years primary school, and then we both went into St Thomas's together.
And were you same year at school?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So hence why you kind of musically, it sort of kind of made sense.
Yeah. I mean, Martin was in the school band as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Or playing classical orchestra, the stuff that school band doing that.
I know. Yeah, classical music, yeah.
Which instrument did he play?
Martin was on the tuba.
Was that because of John Entwistle? Wasn't John Entwistle a tuba? Was it tuba or was it?
No,
he's French horn. That's it. Yeah.
No. It was because of the love of music. No, see, the band, that school band in St Thomas's was. I know it sounds weird, but it was pretty cool. And I was envious of the guys playing in the band. And up to that point, I was the fiddler on the roof. And they didn't have a violin section. It was a concert band. So I got rid of that and then started up on the bassoon.
Okay, and
that got me in there.
But that's a good thing, I think, because we spoke a few days ago, me and you, and it's about when you're learning music, you're not only learning the kind of the art of playing the thing, but you're also learning music, aren't you? Because you're learning like 4/4 time and all the and you're learning notes and you're learning all the things you need. So that kind of, I think, not being rude about a lot of the bands, one of the good things about the Chords is musically you were tight. I mean, you might say different, but you were, you can listen to that album. Yeah. It's tough.
As rehearsal time, we were pretty disciplined and understanding, because that's the place where you learn the songs, and we learned that all through being in concert bands.
Okay, I think that answers one of the, because I was going to ask actually much later on, but it doesn't really matter. About, because Something's Missing is my favourite, and the way it is so well constructed with all the little, it's not just played straight like we always say. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4 and start. There's all those little bits, and and there's so much of that across the whole back catalogue, and that is why you say. I mean, how does that come about in a rehearsal room to turn it just from some chords into that?
Luckily, like Chris, I think, I'm positive that Chris's first band was the Chords.
Yeah.
And he just accepted the way me and Martin worked.
Oh, okay.
And that was fine, And then we were lucky to have a great drummer, Brett, and he just kind of slotted in perfectly. And then Chris was able to communicate the kind of things he wanted done within the song. So, we would break the songs up, as you said, Luke, dissect everything and then talk about what should be happening here, there and everywhere, and how to make the song sort of like, I don't know, more dynamic,
Yeah.
There's, I suppose as well, Billy, I mean, we're going to talk about influences as well in here, but I think that when you think about punk, take a band. I love Stiff Little Fingers, but Stiff Little Fingers are a 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody plays all the same, and then they get to the end. They're a great band, and it's a great sound.
Yeah.
But it is
earlier on,
they
perhaps got a bit more involved later on, because they obviously carried on for years. But the early stuff,
yeah. I mean, but you watch that clip of them trying to do Suspect Device, and you can see who's the original drummer, and you can see he's going as fast as he can. But that's not natural. It's just so he's stiff, you know. And whereas Brett just does it, doesn't he? He's very lucky that way.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of but this neatly brings us on to am I right in thinking you was at the Who Charlton gig? Have I got that right?
No, well, yeah, I was there, but I couldn't get in.
Oh right, oh right.
It all at the back. There was a fence. How to say congregate? Anyway, there was a fence there, and everyone was like getting in underneath this fence. Next thing, Mr. Plod turned up in force, and scattered. There was only must have been about 11. 71, 72, wasn't it?
Oh, wasn't it the loud one? Wasn't it for years? It was the loudest one.
Yeah. So we could hear them because it was in the daytime. I think they did it.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been evening time, so it was in the summer. So all I remember, I could hear all this noise and it was the Who.
And the Who and punk is it because we've spoken about this in the past, but for the viewers' sake, I always assumed the Chords were massive Who fans, you know, but would you say you were saying about you being fans of lots of things?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily the biggest Who fan in the band. No, I was Beatle crazy.
Okay.
That's why when I met Pep Weller later, we just hit it off straight away because another Beatle fan, you know what I mean?
Well, as is your friend Terry, and Terry Rawlings and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think Terry, yeah, but he was more kind of Rolling Stonesy.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's more Beatles now.
Brian Jones, isn't it?
Well, that's obviously what he's made his work doing that. But it's meant to be about you. So, yeah, but but Beatles, is that somebody? Dave was telling us because I must have listened to it in headphones. But Dave Fletcher of the Jammed said he listened to your album the other day, and she said it's mixed with like the Beatles mixed it. Was that a deliberate thing to do then?
Yeah. Brett hates that track, and I hate it as well because why did we do it? It's because I loved She Said, and I just wanted something different in the album, and to say, you know, we're not the Who, you know, we come from different way as well, you know, but it's, you know, I loved the Beatles from get-go and the Monkees.
Yep. So what's your favourite Monkees track you got, or is it just them?
It's just them. I like each member. Davy Jones, I can relate to.
Yep.
I was that little fella falling in and out of love all the time. It's only because I'm short, I know.
Yeah.
So no, I love all their songs. It's very hard to pick one. Really is. I can't do it. That's why I don't do, you know, people put up their favourite albums or give a list of it. I just no.
That's a difficult one, isn't it? You know,
I wake up.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
And I think it's a difficult one. But we were talking about like the Monkees being on TV. I mean, did you did that? When you're thinking about a band, did that infuse you? Did you think I'd like to be like...
Yes, of course. I mean, that's what I thought being in a band was going to be like. You all live together and you have these, you know, these exciting dramas.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you're making music. Yes. Totally. Yeah.
Those
and
blooming...
you know, but, you know, I think a lot of that is kind of true. That friendship, that bonds, that you saw with the Monkees. Yeah, we did. We fought, but we loved each other.
Yeah.
We always had each other's backs.
Suggs from Madness says the same. All the bands that kind of, you know, they all say that. But let's rack through these questions. So, was it always going to be a Rickenbacker?
Oh God, yeah.
I noticed you've got one behind you. Is that that one from then, or?
This is the original. This is the one that I played in the Chords.
Wow.
Well, it's always there because the dog. I used to have a display area outside, and then we got a dog, and she loved chewing the arm.
Oh, you're joking.
So but I've got the John Lennon type Rick over there.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I keep that boxed up. That comes out at Christmas for special occasions.
For special occasions.
Yeah.
That's
the thing I always wanted. The 3/4 one, you know.
Yeah, no, I know.
Black. Black with a tremolo, yeah.
And but we spoke about the fact that they've got the small necks, and because you like me, you've got small hats.
I've got chubby fingers.
Yeah. It's but you.
I was in the John Lennon Museum with Damien O'Neill some years ago, and see that.
Oh wow.
Anyway, there was no one in this museum, and it was put together by Yoko Ono. So there's no one there, and I said to Damien, you know, what's your John Lennon guitar? And he's gone, that one, the old Casio. Is it? Yeah, Casio. Epiphone.
Yeah.
Epiphone.
Yeah. I've got one there.
As you go, you got that. But as you go in, you got the Rickenbacker, not the first one that was like the brown one, then painted black.
Yeah.
But his next one, the one he probably bought when he was, had a bit of money.
Yeah.
And I said to Damien, right, let's smash the cases. I'll take the Rick. You have the old Epiphone. We'll be famous forever. yeah. You know, we won't run away with them. You just sit there, and we'll be in the news. Right? We'll probably get slapped on the wrist. Maybe 6 weeks in the bar, behind bars.
Yeah.
But our names would always be associated with John Lennon. 2 Egypts trying to nick it, and he looked at me, and he. No. Stupid idea.
Yeah.
No.
You need that stick again to get you off the stage.
Yeah. I want to do it.
It wasn't me. So
no, the Black Rickenbacker.
The Black Ricken. Yeah. I mean, so consequently, do you think style-wise, the young Billy? I've seen you in pictures of Parker's wearing Chelsea boots, and do you think that's why you warmed to it? Did it just feel natural to you?
I'm looking at pictures here. Can I, if you hold on, bear with me.
Yeah.
See my gun. I'm looking at that picture all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Aspired to.
Yeah, I get it.
And I've got another one on it, which I love, and it's looking at me always.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I know, Mr. Winston.
So,
So I must admit, even me, those sunglasses he's wearing on that paperback. Every time we go abroad, me and Nikki, I'm always in second-hand shops trying to find those glasses. They're just so hard to find. They're obviously only like out for a short bit in the 60s, and then trying to find them. So anyway, let's get back to these questions. So clothes, did it feel natural to kind of dress like that? That's how you wanted to project yourself?
My mother was fashion nuts. So as a kid, we would have Crombies, Ben Shermans, anything that was in vogue at the time. She just loved clothes, and she loved dressing us up, me and my brother. And so it's funny because when someone is so passionate about something like your parents, I'm kind of, I'm getting dressed up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of rebelling. So when punk came along, just be dirty, just wear jeans, and all of a sudden, it was all right.
Yeah.
I'm anyone that knows me, I'm a scruffy bugger at heart. I'm not dirty.
Yeah.
There's a difference. I'm very tidy. I'm very clean, but around the house it would be just a t-shirt or whatever. I'm wearing shorts at the moment. It's warm.
I don't think I don't think you're alone in that one.
I've got my shorts on as well. Regretting that decision, as my house was freezing at 7:30 this morning when we outside.
All right.
But for you, we were speaking about like getting clothes back in the 70s, pre-chords, and that was hard work.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened was going to I used to go to loads of gigs, and I noticed that there were 2 types. So there was the ones that were the punks, and I wasn't into all that. But there were the guys that would wear like a t-shirt, Fred Perry jumper. You'd have Levi Chords straight, and either what's it called, Dunlop Green Flash, or the Jam shoes. I went for the Green Flash, and then I got the Jam shoes later.
Yeah.
But it was a different image, and a lot of it was of the bands like the Jam, and probably more Buzzcocks. I was really into Buzzcocks.
Yeah,
but it was that kind of 60s thing going on, and Elvis Costello even. You know, he was smart, you know.
Yeah. I think there's some great pictures of the Buzzcocks. We talk about the Jam, and I don't want to talk about that because that's a whole subject on its own. But the Buzzcocks got some. They've all dressed really well in lots of them, you know, in different styles, and there's some lovely double-breasted on the drummer. You know what I mean? There's some. They look great, and they sounded great. You know, a really original band. I mean, was they a big influence on your playing? Do you think?
Oh God, yeah. You know, autonomy and things like that. I could never stop playing, and 16 again. The riffs were just brilliant.
It's his mum, my wife's favourite 16 again, isn't it? She loves that song.
Oh,
Luke. It's a brilliant song. But it's just they're just so. They are like a cross between the Monkees and the Beatles, but in a punk kind of way, aren't they? They're really. It's kind of it's good. It's good stuff. Anyway, let's move it. What we got?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, sorry, because we're 18 minutes in, and I don't want to edit it. I want to play all of this. So if I just keep jamming along, we'll be fine. Shoes though, you just touched on that. Were jam shoes like the only? We all call them jam shoes, but the black and white one, were they like the only kind of mod thing you could get, or?
Well, no. I mean, DMs. I mean, they're worth a fortune now, but DMs were the cheapest things you could get at the time because they were working men's boots, right?
Yeah.
So you could get DM shoes and proper DMs, and of course, like football fraternity would be well into the DMs.
Yeah.
Everyone had Dr. Martens, but I suppose Shelley's was always there in Carnaby Street, or just off Carnaby Street, and I used to go there. Well, I used to every Saturday go up west and have a look around at the music shops and walk around Carnaby Street and have a look. But in those days, I had no money. Any kind of money I had went to buy music books like the Beatles or Strings or stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
But later, no, I mean shoes. You could get loafers. They were no problem.
Right. Okay.
But I'm just trying to think. I used to go to Petticoat Lane on a Sunday. You'd be amazed by what you could pick up there.
Yeah.
Like desert boots and pigskin white boots. I used to like gingery colour.
Yeah. No,
so footwear, limited to what you can get now, but there were you could get kind of.
Well, you could. I mean, I can remember places where you could go. But moving on, what we got here? So there's a food. Right. I want to ask. Somebody's asked me to ask you, in the Checkers Plays Pop bit, you're wearing a jacket.
Oh, yeah.
And you've told me before, where did that come from?
Oh
dear.
Well,
if I open something?
Yeah. I'm kind of sending out a message that, we have punky roots. And at the time, it didn't go down well.
Oh, okay.
That was the message. We just come off tour with the Undertones, and we had so much in common with them.
Yeah.
And we, as Chris said, we wanted to be a band, that mods liked, not necessarily a mod band.
Yeah.
And we were being more and more pigeonholed. And not necessarily by the fans, but media, they were trying to sell us in a particular way, and even our record company. And it was just trying to express, that we don't want to be pigeonholed. And it kind of backfired.
Billy, I get it, mate. I think that anybody who's been in a band, the problem, and any person who's been in the mod scene long enough will tell you, it's lovely you have an audience, but the press and everybody can't deal with that. They have to pitch in the same way they do with rock bands. Rock goes in and out of fashion, doesn't it? The same with I don't know, rockabilly or something. All musics go in and out of fashion, and people like us love them. We don't care if it's in fashion or not. But but if you're a struggling band, you're trying to get on the telly and you're trying to. Yeah, I get it, mate. Of course, I understand. It's but I quite like the jacket. I don't really have a problem with that. Perhaps I'm a bit more broad church.
Yeah, I just the Cheggers Plays Pop thing with the I got a loan of an Epiphone guitar and I was wearing that. And I thought it looked quite cool, actually.
I don't know why. It was just
I
something.
had dog-tooth trousers and I had Chelsea boots on.
Yeah.
But you don't see that because of the guitar. And it was half and half. And the dog-tooth trousers, black and white, two-tone.
Yeah.
So anyone that was like looking and that had the imagination to see what's happening. Oh, all right, so it's punk, mod, two-tone. And the Chelsea boots and John Lennon. It was a mix.
So, Luke, if you've got some questions, because otherwise I shall just take over this interview. But
no, that's fine. You mentioned the Undertones.
They've
been on tour with them, and you're all quite good friends with the Undertones. Is that?
Yeah, still. Yeah.
Still the case. Still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say. So, what was it like being on tour with them? How many did you go on tour with them? Many times. Was there some good stories there? Or?
Oh, it was our first tour.
Yeah.
Our first time to go out of London, and we went up to. Would you believe it? Leeds Uni. You know where Live at Leeds was made?
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. Oh, yes. We. Oh, this is weird. Oh my God. And we were in the studios, and the Knack were joining us. Now they were supposed to be supporting the Undertones, but for some reason, all their stuff was in the sort of headlining band's artiste's dressing room, right? So the Undertones arrived, and it's all the Knack's gear in their dressing room, and like blokes don't get out. And so when we arrived, the Undertones are in our dressing room. That's your dressing room. What fucking Knack? Onset Boulevard.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did the sound check, and we've gone on, and the crowd really warmed to us. Of course, we were fresh out of London, and we didn't have all that nonsense that came later, pigeoning polos, full of punks.
Yeah.
And we had 4 encores, and we didn't expect it. We thought we were going to get bottled off. And the first encore, you could see one of the Undertones coming, because there's on the side there, with windows, you can look down, you see.
Yeah.
One of the Undertones was there. Oh, second on, another one's come up. Oh, what's happening here? And then by the 4th, they're all there. You could see them clapping away. And it was just amazing. And then from that point, it was great. We just bonded, and plus, like, the Irish connection.
I was going to say, I've seen pictures of you with them on that wall, which is on the first album. Yeah, because they're all still. Do some of them still live around there?
All except Damien. Damien lives in London.
Yeah.
The others are in Derry. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fergal. I'd assume Fergal lives.
Fergal. I don't know. I think he lives in London, but I mean.
The original great, yeah. If you read the biography, I mean, and it was from that moment on. Then is that how you became friends? Is that just because right? Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
We just got into. I mean, and I never really understood or heard. I think Teenage Kicks. That was about it. And listening to their music, I just this is great as well. So we just got off on each other's music, really. Yeah. And of course, the Knack was the catalyst.
Yeah.
We both hated them. Thank you, the Knack.
Yeah.
My owner. Yeah, brilliant.
But
brilliant. And we just hit it off.
We'll zoom through, because we've only got about 3 or 4 questions left, and we're at 26 minutes. So you've toured. I don't want to go into big long Chords history, and we've spoke about this, Billy. Everybody knows the Chords history and stuff like that, and it's just more the kind of thing. But you've done 2 or 3 things since. I think you toured in the early 90s. I was at college and didn't even know you toured in the night. You did 3 gigs, I think, somewhere in '93. Yeah.
Did we?
Apparently, or '96, somewhere around there, or some.
Oh yeah.
You did. I didn't even know.
Summer tour.
Yeah.
No, I've forgotten completely.
Well,
we did a summer tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that was weird. That was weird.
Well, it's completely weird because I didn't know.
That was the weird thing. Nobody knew.
And
nobody knew.
Whose idea was that?
Except, I can't remember because Brett and I were both living in Japan at the time, and I think it was before the British Way of Life. I don't know whose bright idea it was. It was just you getting a free trip home, boys. You fancy doing it? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, it was a free beat, a chance to get home and see people, and I think it was a week of gigs, 10 days, which not culminated. It finished off, I think, in Notts County Clubhouse. I think it was Notts County, and that was a good night. But it was the night before, and the tour had gone really crap. I mean, we were playing in Brighton, there was no one there.
Right. But this is pre-internet, isn't it? This is so nobody would have known if it wasn't, unless you'd rung people up and asked,
Well, this is it. So we thought, anyway, the hometown gig was at the 100 Club, and the lads forgot to pick me up. Yes.
Right.
And they thought, all right, and I thought to myself, well, no one's going to pick me up, so I got the number 1 bus because I was staying with my brother at the time, and I always used to get the number 1 bus into work, and it brought. I was on a complete nostalgia trip, going on the number 1 back to work. Because I work in very near Oxford Circus, so you get the number 1, it will take you there, and I hated the tube. I preferred to be on the bus, and. It was lovely, going past everywhere, and I was in heaven. Of course, they've arrived at the 100 Club. Who's picked up Billy? Where is he? It was supposed to be you. No, it was you.
Oh no, right.
He's going to go nuts. So I've got my guitar and everything in my bag, and right, lads. Yeah, what's happening? Are you all right? Yeah, no worries. Seriously? No problem.
So the fitness all good.
Brilliant. It was all good, and we had a good sound check, and pissed off around the pub, and weren't drinking, just like now, water and a bit of lime. And someone said to me, because I was with all your mates from school and guys I'd worked with in Japan who'd come back and then met up with them again, and it was brilliant in the pub. I want to be jarring with them. I don't want to go back now.
Yeah.
But I couldn't drink. And next thing, someone walked in. He said, "Here, what's happening down at the 100 Club? That's what you're playing, isn't it?" Yeah. He said, "This queue down there is unbelievable. There's scooters going up and down the road." No. Yeah. On there, gun out. I couldn't believe it. It's Billy. It's been all right, Bill. We played a brilliant gig, one of the very few ever. And I even did a stage dive at the end of it. I would never do that again. And,
you might hit the back wall in the 100 Club. It's not that deep.
Everyone,
Yeah.
It was just so good. And but again, couldn't enjoy it because next day we were up to Nottingham.
Oh, right. Okay.
Gig. It's a shame London wasn't the last gig. But there you go.
But gigs are like that. Yeah, but you then obviously I want to get on to our good friend because you played a couple other times, and then the 2010's been the real last time, and you warmed up with some J chord gigs. So let's kind of get this question in one go. Okay. I want to mention our friend Rani, and I want to mention the fact that you had a band in Japan that played chord songs so you could warm up.
Yeah.
That is just crazy stuff to me. The fact that, and I don't mean this rudely, a band from London that were around for a small amount of time have got fans all over the world. Do you know what I mean? How does that compute in your head? That is just. I know they're good songs. Don't get me wrong, but you.
Oh man, right. I'd given up. I think before 2010, the Undertones came over to play in Japan. And Damien was in touch, of course. And could you get a guitar? We can't. And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I said, "Do you want a hand? You know, I'll do the strings and stuff." And he said, "Yeah, please, if you wouldn't mind." So no worries. So they're only playing 2 gigs in Tokyo, so I've gone down, and I was just doing the guitars, and it was like, you know, you're behind stage and you're watching it, and history and and seeing that it was with Paul, of course, not Fergal, and I met Paul previous, but you know, this was different. This is Japan, and now I'm part of the mix, if you like. And I was standing there and I thought, oh God, I'd love to do this just one more time.
Yep.
And we get that's the story with Damien, as you know, in the John Lennon Museum. That was a few days later.
Oh, okay.
That was all in the same time. Anyway, back home, got back to where I live, north of Tokyo, and the phone's gone. And there's a guy there, and blah, 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 blah. What's happened was, this bloke, his wife, happens to be my youngest's teacher at preschool, right? And he said to her, you know, because she's gone, oh, there's a foreign kid in my class, her name's Lisa Hassett, Hassetto.
Yeah.
There's not many Hassettos to the pound anywhere in the world.
Yeah, very good.
They're right. So he's scratching his head and he's gone, Hassetto? And he's brought out this So Far Away album to the wife.
Wow.
Is it him? Because I used to pick her, brought her up, and I used to do the Santa Claus for the school every year. She said, yeah, that's him. Bit thinner though. So he's on the phone, isn't he? Now, my Japanese isn't great. And I thought he's phoned me up probably because he knew the Undertones were in town. So I've gone, oh yeah, yes, that's me. Yeah. Oh, I guess you want to speak to Mr. O'Neill. He's right here. Hello. No, he's phoned me up because he's a Chords fan. Anyway, next day we met. Turns out he was a bass player. Then my next door neighbour, when I first moved here, we used to have little parties for the whole neighbourhood. We used to get together.
Yeah.
He was a drummer in a ska band.
Oh, wow.
Brett's mate was a lead guitarist that I knew from previous, because the Red Away Tops thing.
Yeah.
When Brett was here. I met him a couple of times. And funny enough, I met him in London because I went to see U2, the 360. Anyway, I met him there. And I became friendly with him, and he used to come to the house and we used to jam together. And next thing, we've got a band. We've got Kazuo on the bass, Michi, just lives like that, on the drums. And we just friendly and blah, blah, blah. Next thing, news came through from London, you know, we're going to be playing Isle of Wight, the festival, la-di-da-da-da. Would you like to? Yeah. So I thought, oh, yeah. Now, remember the tour before? It was just me and Brett. So I had someone to practice with. But I've been completely on my own. And so Brett said, you know, why don't you guys get together and use that band as a kind of preparation, springboard.
To get warmed up, get back into it, yeah.
Get this thing.
Yeah.
Get me match fit, basically.
Yeah.
And it worked. And being playing songs with the guys, it was unbelievable. Cut a long story short, the guy that promoted the Undertones thing in Tokyo then said to us, we weren't called J Chords. He said to us, would you like to play being support bands with the bands that are coming over from the UK? Because he had a record shop, Vinyl Japan, which are quite famous if you're into vinyl.
Yeah, no, I've heard of them.
Yeah. Tetsuo, his name is. And, he said, any bands coming over, would you just play warm-up? It saves me a job of looking for someone. And, you're going to be doing the chord stuff. I said, yeah. He said, could you call it Billy H or Billy Hassett and the J Chords? So he used to promote us as Billy Hassett and J Chords. And then I just cut it down to J Chords. But then after the Australian thing, Mitchie said to us, bye, I'm off. Oh, bye. And that was the end of that then.
Oh, okay.
Straight after Australia, which is a shame because we started to get our own little sound, and I started writing songs again, and yeah, oh well.
But bands are bands. But we have a mutual friend, Rani, from Israel.
Yeah.
Who's
Right,
a
yeah.
massive. I know when you had he rung me the morning when you had some sort of tidal thing, big bad thing going. He goes, he was really worried about you, and I think that's lovely. A bloke in Israel, I mean, have you met people from Argentina that like the Chords, or is it just about every country in the world that sort of says, "Are you Billy from?"
Yeah, well, Brett is the traveller, and I'm a very stick in the mud. So I don't like the actual physical trying to get from A to B.
Yep.
I love being in B, but it's that nonsense. And especially now, being in Japan for such a long time, my only time I travel really is to go home to see mum and dad in Ireland.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as you know, I go home to London and see the mates, if I can. But meeting Kazuo just freaked me out. He was a Chords fan, not an Undertones fan. And there's me giving him the phone to David O'Neill.
Yeah, but
And then the absolute pleasure of being able to invite him into a band. He was over the moon. And then to see the Chords. And the funny thing is, we were warming up. They were late, hungover. I don't know what was the story with them. But we got on and did the sound check for them. And then next thing, the Chords came through the door, and they were just... And Chris came up after this. Oh my God, is that how we really sound, like that? That was bloody good. This is the thing. You never, ever get the chance...
to see yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
never.
I must admit, because I've started this interview playing the clip from the London Weekend Television, and it's a bit splashy, but it's how you sound to me. The album's great, but I love, especially the Now It's Got with Brett does the big Who bits. I love that. That is just and live. You just I'm not being rude, but I don't think it ever quite works on record. It never quite gets that dang.
You don't have that force. You remember I said to Brett, something, it's I've played with so many different drummers, but I said, you're unique. And he's looking at me. And I said, your bass drum. He said, I'm standing in front of you and you're hitting that bass drum and it's actually sending my trousers behind my legs. I can feel the beat.
Yeah.
So live, you've got that whole energy, especially when we were younger, because everything was 11,
Yeah.
And me and Chris were competing at the time as well. So I wanted to be louder than him, and he wanted. So they used to say that the Chords was, if you went, it was a wall of sound.
Yeah.
It was. I could never hear myself sing.
Okay.
As we later on, though, we discovered, well, maybe we should not be doing this. And so I kind of turned down, and Chris is the lead guitarist, not me. Finally.
But
so I'm doing the Who.
Yeah, but that's great. That clip you're doing all the Pete Townsend. And it's just
Pete Townsend. Who's he think he is? When he would.
It's a great clip, and I love that song. It's funny. I just give you some good things. What I love about that song is it's rapidly turned into one of my favourites now. And when I go and see the many versions of the Chords, it's always one of my highlights because I love that bow down down bow down down bow. I love that Whoism. I call it a Whoism because there are other bands who do it, but it's that kind of moon bit.
And it's you got the Kinks in there as well.
Yeah.
I ripped Marriott off. The chorus.
Yep.
Now it's so blue. All that.
Yeah.
Pure Kinks.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And tell us about writing, because we it's not one of the questions, and I know Luke's kind of and we spoke about how you construct, but it's would you would it all says Chris's songs, but did he bring like complete songs, or would it be kind of look, I've got G in the C and I don't know what else?
No. Chris had what was it? What's that? Chris was ill when he was in the sixth form. He had glandular fever.
Okay.
And for a year he was stuck in bed. So I believe he wrote a load of stuff then. And Chris was very much into Bob Dylan and Rolling Stones. The Who, of course. He was a big Clash fan.
Yeah.
And Chris used to come, Martin and I used to go down to Catford where Chris lived, and Chris would have a song there, and he'd say, like, okay, blah, blah, blah. We never really talked about it, the lyric or the attitude or feelings and all that sort of stuff. He just sort of like said, oh, Bill, there's the song, and I want you to go, da, da, da. And I used to try and put my interpretation onto it. And, if I did something wrong, he'd soon tell me, no, not like that.
Right.
And then we'd go in, because, money was tight, and, you wouldn't go into the studio until you had it all figured out in Chris's gaff, and then you go into the studio.
Right.
Brett, only came in at the end. He really wouldn't be around where, say, me, Chris would be in the room together. Then Martin would come in, and then finally Brett would be there, and that would be it.
And so he would
he would deliver it. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a kind of at rehearsals somebody going one, two, you're jamming away like a lot of bands. It was kind of like we've got this, and now we're going to construct this. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I never knew that about you, and I don't know. I just had no idea how you constructed the songs. Did that give? But was that discipline that you were talking about before that allowed you then to go, right, well, if you're going to be doing this, that might be good if we put that on, rather than sort of being all making a noise. And then
on the minor side, we were never any good at like just jamming, and everything was worked out before we even got into rehearsals. So we just focused on areas and sounds and dissecting, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and getting the song complete. Later on a set complete, But we never like, oh, let's just do noodle and see where it goes.
Yeah.
No, we limited time. We had to do this, that, and the other. Bum, finished. Book up next week now. Okay, let's try and get it better.
Yeah,
we didn't noodle, none of that free willy stuff. No.
Well, that's not so. I don't know. Just sometimes it's fun to do, isn't it, Luke?
I only like it if I'm playing the drums. I don't like it if I'm playing the guitar.
Yeah. I just don't like it.
But do you still try and play as often as you can, like with all the guitars there? Would you?
No. Just look at them and they're crying out saying, Daddy, why you just...
why are you neglecting us? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I feel so guilty all the time. So I walk past this room like that.
Billy, I wouldn't feel bad about that. My guitars sit over there, and people often say to me, "Why aren't you in a band anymore?" And Luke's always trying to get me back in a band, but I just, I don't know. I don't feel like it's. I don't know about for you, I can't speak for you, but for me, I feel like I've done it. I've done it as well as I can, and without doing a lot more effort, I don't think I can get.
Tell you,
is that the same for you?
Well, yeah, and people really, if you've never been in a band, you never really appreciate the pure luck of getting 4 individuals with the same mindset in the same room together, that going down the same way. Because we all want to we all want to go down that road. It's just so rare, and people don't really get it.
No, and it takes a lot of hard work. You know that, don't you, Luke?
Yeah.
You've played in numerous bands. You played the Replicas when we were in that, mate. It was kind of when it's all started, you're all eager beaver. But then 2 or 3 years in, you can go like, I can't stand you. Well, it's not can't stand you. We never can't stand each other, but you get a bit sort of, oh, not this again. And
it is true. And that's why when it comes to original music now, I just do it on my own. I don't bother having a band for that anymore. Just play it on my own.
But I think that's I think that's the modern way, isn't it? You know, Ed Sheeran and people like him have proven, you can do it on your own. It's interesting. Carl from the farm, we were talking to him about like being in a band, and he said they were in the farm for years, literally years, just as mates. Because it was something to do, and I get the impression that sometimes some bands are just doing it because it's just a bunch of mates wanting to make a noise together. Because, excuse my language, you've got fuck all else to do.
Well, what I miss most about not being in a band is that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I live the life of a hermit. I have been for decades now. So, getting those opportunities to play, in the past tours. Once I got over the nerves and the doubt, can I still do it? Because that's always there. I could relax and actually enjoy, But as I said, it was always, for me, live was always difficult because so many distractions, so many things can go wrong. My nerves before going on, horrible. I couldn't sleep. I can't sleep anyway, but if there was a big gig coming up, I couldn't sleep, couldn't rest. And, most of our best work, and I think if you spoke to Brett, Martin and Chris, the best time for the Chords to play would have been in the rehearsal room. Because you just are focused. You don't have to perform to anyone.
Yeah.
You're playing for each other.
Yeah.
And we, and we would have a session and say, God, why didn't we record that? Or no one will ever see that.
Yeah.
It's such a shame.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, but I think that's the thing, isn't it? If you're going to be in a band, you've either got to be in a band and say like, I don't know, Nine Below Zero, and just play all the time. And almost we got to the point, didn't we, Luke, with the replicas where we didn't rehearse. We were just so hot, But we would learn new songs on stage. It's always. I remember. Do you remember we did that song? Was it the CeeLo Green one, Luke? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
we did
just
that.
played it and hoped for the best, and just made it up as we went along.
Yeah.
It kind of worked.
and it was good fun, and I think that's good fun. There's loads I'm going to have to cut out now. We are at 49 minutes. So I'm going to hit the stop button, but I need to finish this so I can use this as an end bit. So let me just so can I thank you, Billy, for answering some of the questions and sharing some of your thoughts with us, and we'll say goodbye. So we'll say goodbye. Good man.
Well, goodbye, everyone. Yeah, you take care. Good luck. Stay well, stay safe, stay healthy.